we're going live. We're ready to get started. Well, welcome to the Christian Education Cafe. I am Dr. Althea Penn, and it is such a joy to be with you tonight. I hope you have a hot beverage, some hot tea, some coffee or something, and you're settled in this evening to talk with us about all things Christian education. I'm really excited about our guest tonight. I will be interviewing my friends Lillian and Michael from Time to Sign. I want to share with you just a little bit of data before we jump into our topic. I was reading the other day, and let's see, I thought I had the sheet right here on top. Here it is. It's the second one here. I was reading just the other day, and they were talking about this language gap. I read about it some years ago, some research, but since the pandemic, the numbers have changed. And so I'd like to share with you just a little bit of information. It says the pandemic had lasting negative effects or influence on children's language and development or communication skills. And we're all aware of that. We see kids getting more aggressive. We see more challenging behavior in the classroom. And so the research says the language gap was already known before the pandemic and occurs between children from wealthier families and those from under-resourced backgrounds. It's evident from 18 months of age and persists across development. By 5 years old, 75% of children with persistent experiences of poverty score below average in vocabulary tests, compared with only 35% of those with no experience of poverty. This can negatively impact relationships, behavior, and of course, a child's ability to learn, especially about the God who created them in his image. And so I'm so happy to talk about this topic because language is actually a gift from God so that we can communicate with one another and communicate with him. And if that development is delayed, it's going to have significant consequences for life, actually for eternity, because the gospel has to be preached and it has to be heard before it can be believed and received. So welcome to my guests, Lillian and Michael from Time to Sign. Thank you for taking time to be with me this evening. Would you share a little bit about yourselves?
Sure, I'll start and then I'll have Dr. Michael communicate. Um, so I started this company in 1999 because of my son. I'm very hard of hearing, and my son, my middle child, was having difficulty um, hearing. And so a friend of mine, speech pathologist, said I should use sign language with him. And before I started using sign language with him, he wasn't communicating. He was very frustrated. He was getting a lot of incident reports from the preschool. And, she taught me 50 signs. And this is back in 1996.
We're dating ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, a while back. Anyways, and so there was nothing available
Yeah.
out there. And so she taught me 50 signs and I started using them with him and the preschool. And I have to tell you, he went from the trajectory of not being wanted in the classrooms, having being labeled as a problematic child, to a child that everybody loved because when he was able to communicate his wants and needs and using the signs when people could not understand what was coming out of his mouth, what he was saying, it was a big difference.
I
And then,
love that.
lo and behold, he started communicating more effectively. And so he went from the child that wasn't talking, wasn't communicating, was having errant behavior, to the child that was talking in full sentences and communicating, and people could understand within months. This is just such a big impact. And so I was a financial analyst for an IT firm, and I saw this so much so that I went to Gallaudet and I studied ASL. because again, there was nothing else out there. At the time, I lived in Northern Virginia, so I went to Silver Spring, Maryland, and took classes as a parent with a special needs child instead
Wow.
of deaf culture or anything like that. I just wanted to focus on the sign language component,
Yeah.
and that's how I started. And I've been doing that ever since. I just absolutely love, um, doing using sign language. So I started this company in '99 and working with early childhood, and I got my early childhood degree to be able to understand all the basics and all that. And I also love implementing sign language into all areas of learning. So whether
Yes.
it's cognitive, social and emotional, you know, um, physical and development, and language and literacy, and all of that. And sign language does that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just also, and it's not used just with deaf or hard of hearing children.
No,
All children can benefit from sign language.
absolutely.
So that's the story
Absolutely.
about me. And I just, we moved the company to Florida in 2002. And we've been teaching all over the world ever since. A lot of it online after the pandemic. But that's a little bit about me. I also had a preschool for 8 years, and where we
Wow.
implemented a lot of this. And the children that graduated from our program at 4 years old, going 5 years old, going to kindergarten, were reading at the first and second grade levels because of sign
Unbelievable.
language.
Unbelievable. That's the power of language. It's so formative. And I love that it's ASL is kinesthetic. And so, most of the early ed programs now are going through like class observations for quality rating. And this would take teachers' interactions with students to a whole new level where they're able to understand their students that may have difficulty communicating with words. They can actually sign out their emotions. And this is just wonderful. I went to a school about a month ago where the students were signing a worship song. And they were actually using ASL. They weren't using like creative sign language. And I was just undone because you could see the kids' hearts were totally engaged. So when you talk about teaching the whole child, this is just a wonderful way to incorporate kinesthetic learning into your teaching strategies and make sure you're effective in your students' learning and grasping the objectives that you have quickly. Well, I do not want to, Dr. Michael Hublin, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, did I mispronounce it?
I answered anything. That's
Hubler.
fine. Well,
Yes, welcome to the Christian Education Cafe. Please share a little bit about yourself. And if I butchered your name, please pronounce it again for us. I tell you, I'm from the South and I can definitely butcher the English language.
Dr. Mike, and the last name's Hubler, but I go
Hubler.
back to Mike. I started my first preschool from scratch in 1990, and I
Wow.
worked with children ever since. I ran the Outstanding Minority Education Institution for the state of Florida.
Wow.
I ran the Sharing Center, which you just help people. My doctoral degree is from Regent University, which is a nice Christian school in Virginia Beach. And
That's a nice one.
it's very nice, but it's one of those things that we just keep doing that. But for my helping children, I was named Brevard County Citizen of the Year. We have
Wow.
600,000 people living here, so
Wow.
I'm pretty good at that. But also, I'm helped start, and I'm a professor at the College of Missionary Aviation down
Wow.
in Florida.
Okay.
So I can never find enough to do, and between us two, we're up to 53 books. And if you go to any state school for the deaf, they'll have our curriculums. So they
Wow.
birth to five at one school age. One's 8 books, the other's 11. And it's everything you need to know about sign language. And we really love any opportunity to teach. And we've been blessed, like she said, we've been all over the place. And we work a lot with Head Start and other programs too. And you talked a little bit about that. I want to touch on something you had mentioned, that 70% of the Head Start parents are single moms.
Yes.
Single parent, you are hearing 5 million less words by the time you're 5 years old.
Now, I thought it was 30 million, but you said, I mean, no, it's a 30 million word gap, but they're hearing 5 million more words If they're in a wealthier family, children are.
Yeah,
Two parents.
yeah.
Mhm.
You've
And then
also,
too, sometimes they have a nanny or someone else that is actually explaining things to them rather than giving direct instruction. So I can see that.
well, the difference I was talking about is that, sorry, is that this is two parents to one. It's nothing to do with wealthy. So
Wow.
more, you're going to hear more because you have more people around to talk. And
Yes.
thanks for listening to about me.
And
Yeah.
it's also about reading to the children, and sign language is a great way to have concept understanding. So
Yes.
when I do my parent engagements, I love teaching the parent to use sign language to kind of make and emphasize the concept better, or make it more fun, or engage in a more in a fun way, and
Yeah.
they can understand it better. And they're using the signs, and ASL is a language, so
Yes,
that
it
they
is.
will use and they can use for the rest of their lives. And because of the way that sign language comes to us, it comes in the logical side of the brain, and it goes to the non-logical side of the brain, the creative side. It builds synapses, and it makes
Yes.
it smarter. So on average, children that learn sign language, or that are exposed to sign language early in life, have a 12 to 13 point IQ boost.
Wow.
Difference between
13 points and their IQ is boosted
Maintain.
above other students.
It also helps with pre-verbal communication.
Wow.
If you can get more, you can get milk, whatever you want, long before you can talk, getting your wants and needs met, and learning words way early because of that. And that really sets them up. So when they do start to pick up a book and look, they're way ahead of their counterparts.
Wow.
It really works
Wow.
wonderful because they're like a year and a half at age 3 ahead of their counterparts because of what they've got.
Yeah, when we
Wow.
first started this company, we did a lot of research and background working with parents that were either deaf or hard of hearing, that taught their children from birth sign
Mhm.
language.
Mhm.
And I went to a lot of conferences that had to do with deaf adults,
Yes.
or quotas, children of deaf adults. And I have to tell you, Dr. Penn, the difference is amazing. I had a 2-year-old communicating with me like a young adult, and he was talking to me and signing at the same time. And he was
Wow.
saying something like, "Hey, she's a funny lady," and he was signing it and talking. And I said, "Well, how old is he?" And he said, "Oh, he just turned 2." And I was like, so impressed with that. And she says, "Oh yeah, he's been signing since he was 4 months old." And
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
really
we have a lot of guests joining us on Facebook, and welcome. Thank you for being here. I think that this is valuable content for all of us to learn, is that we have heard the research for years that when you just hear someone saying something to you, you only remember like 20% of what you hear. If you see it, maybe 40%. But if you hear it, see it, and you're doing it at the same time, it boosts the amount of information that you remember to like 80 or 90%. And so this is one of those tools that parents can have in their toolbox. Teachers can have in their toolbox for helping students comprehend better, keeping them engaged so there are less classroom management issues, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if the students are in class, they're learning, they're gaining, they're engaged, they love the school, it's going to help with retention so they can stay in the same school and not have to keep building those relationships over and over, moving from school to school. They can stay in one school and have very deep, rich relationships with their teachers, right? I
Yes.
like that.
Let me
I
take you.
like that. So, we've talked about how it can reduce challenging behavior and improve classroom management a little bit. How can sign language foster spiritual formation or faith development?
Okay, I have to say, so I love signing at church. And one of the things that I found is that when you sign to music, um, or just, acting out a psalm, or part of the Bible, sign language is a feeling language. So
Yes,
it's
it is.
not just about using your hands and your facial expression. you have to really feel what you're
Yeah.
presenting. And so when you're doing the songs, and I have a book that we put together for Christian Science, and this is for early childhood, and I just love it. So it's like the Bible, right? So it's Jesus,
I was just about to say, I love when you do that
yeah,
because it makes me think about the nails in his hands when he was on the cross. And then the sign for lamb, I believe, our son is almost the same, is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it just depends. That's the sheep or lamb, but again, the everything has identifiers. The
Yes.
cross, the Christian, everything it conveys. So it's so much better when you add a little bit of sign language to your teaching.
Yeah, yeah. I can see how that can boost the understanding of the gospel and really help. Like you said, it's a feeling language. So it really already your heart's engaged, your natural heart is engaged, your mind, all of your being is engaged in the learning process. That's great. So, how can Christian schools find out more about your resources, the services that you provide? We haven't talked about them a lot, but not only do you provide curriculum, but you also provide training for the teachers. So, do you travel? How can they connect with you? Share your website, your information a little bit with us.
So we are at Time to Sign. So it will
Okay.
be www.timetosign.com, TIMETOSIGN.com.
Okay. So it's
Um,
TO time2sign.com. Okay.
um, and we also have a YouTube channel, Time to Sign Inc.
Okay.
And that one has hundreds and hundreds of videos that for easy learning. And on our website, we also have lesson plans monthly. So
Wow.
for our educators, so that it makes it very easy to implement sign language into their classrooms.
Are those lesson plans for birth through age 5 or birth through second grade?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have our programs go all the way to adults, of course.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
we have the birth to 5, we have the school age program, and that one of the programs that we created was for a lot of the after school programs. Because when we had our preschool, we also had an after school program. And so one of the things that we did is help the children learn how to um, read better, how to have better understanding of vocabulary words and all that. So we created this program for after school programs.
Wow.
So it has um, all these 27 lessons that they can, teach the kids in their program if they have after school programs in their schools. So
Wonderful.
that too. And then, of course, we have curriculum for birth to 5 and for school age curriculum. And it
Yeah.
just covers all 23 areas of learning. So whether it's language arts or whether it's science and nature or math or just character development, which is really social and emotional, or community and school, all of that is covered topic by topic, module by module. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
also added um, lesson planning, where you have the lesson planning guys that actually go step by step of whether you're working with an infant, a toddler, a preschooler, or school ager on a topical area of learning.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we created to make it really easy for teachers, and they can get that at our website or they can contact us, but it goes step by step on just teaching sign language for any age group, and also classroom and behavior management, working with special needs, and all the activities that they could do with different areas of learning. So topical areas of learning. If they're doing their ABCs, they can teach the children how to fingerspell their names. They can play a game of calling each other's animals, doing the ABC to animals and all that. So there's a lot of really cool ideas in there that make it very easy to implement sign language for early childhood. We also have a lot of other material just to facilitate and make things easy for the
Wow.
children to learn. So we
Mhm.
have a lot of our posters, but they have matching car sets, so the children can match them up, and it's like a puzzle pieces. And we have them from everything um, manners, emotions, all that. We also have our Christian posters. So,
I love that. I love that.
oh, so
I love that. Even the first one you held up on family, I think it was a traditional family, all the traditional members of the family. So I love that. Now, you were saying in the lesson plans, I didn't want to interrupt you, but you were saying you already have the adaptations or the accommodations there for students with disabilities.
yes, yes,
I absolutely love that because sometimes teachers just don't have the bandwidth to think about how do I adapt this so I can accommodate all of my students with their different ability levels. And you've already done the heavy lifting and put it into your curriculum.
that's right.
We
That's
even
right.
have
Wonderful. I love you more than before.
we can have day by day, hour by hour curriculum for the entire year. So
Wow.
wanting to meet the class standards, we have Head Start organizations and others that use what we've developed for planning and for implementation. Um, above and beyond, we have the sign language and other activities, but they can use that if they don't even understand what the class things are and learn from scratch.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So did you align them with Florida standards, early learning standards, or whose learning standards did you go by?
Yeah, more like the Head Start associations and things like that.
Okay, the Head Start Association, which is good. Theirs is research based, so it's really great. I love it. I love your materials, and I just pray that the Lord will bless your ministry and get this into the hands of more Christian educators, because I can really see how the scriptures talk about how God teaches our hands to war. I can see how this can be used as a tool for young people to win the battles that they'll face, just being able to communicate well, effectively. I mean, we all could use some help in that area, right? There's so many scriptures on how to communicate. Well, thank you for joining me today. This has been so rich. Well, the Christian Education Cafe exists, this podcast exists to equip and empower Christian early education school leaders and teachers with the information and tools needed to foster development and competence in their students, their colleagues, their families, and of course themselves. We all want to grow and be conformed into the image of Christ. And he came and ransomed his life for everyone. And I think that your materials are just that. They're a great equalizer and they help everyone, even those that are typically abled. So I hope that my listeners today found this conversation informative, encouraging. If you enjoyed this episode of the Christian Education Cafe, please consider leaving a review on your favorite podcast app, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Podbean later. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and colleagues. To learn more about today's guest, please visit their website and visit my website if you'd like to find out about upcoming professional development opportunities. I think they'll also have some on their website. You can also see my speaking schedule there on my website. Thank you for listening to the Christian Education Cafe today. Until next time, keep cultivating faith development in our youngest learners. God bless you.